The other day, all the grandkids were over at the house, pretty normal Sunday dinner. And Claire, my granddaughter, she had like a little clementine, a little mandarin orange. And she was like walking around with it, and she had like taken a bite right out of the peel. And then all of a sudden that mandarin orange was gone. And everyone was looking for the orange. Nobody could find the orange. All of a sudden the orange was just missing. And we had a long conversation about the orange, and everybody got the flashlights on their phones out, and they were looking under the couches, and we were digging through the toy pile. And at the end of the night, everybody goes home, and we kind of all forgot about the orange. Who cares? No big deal. Somebody probably ate it. Somebody probably threw it away. It is what it is. And so I, sat down and turned the TV on and, just relaxing before I wind down to go to bed. And I remembered that there was an orange that was missing. And I thought to myself, I wonder where it is. So I decided to pull the sectional couch out from the wall. Even though everybody got on the ground with their phones and looked underneath there for the orange, there was a bunch of baby toys and lost guitar picks and coins and you name it, hangers and all kinds of stuff that somehow had made their way under the couch. I don't know if you've ever moved your couch recently, but I encourage you all to do it. If you have little kids in the house, I promise you there's all kinds of things that are underneath there. I don't know if they just stuff their trash underneath there or if somebody decides to run the broom through the house, just sweeps it all under the couch. But whatever's happening, boy, there was like a lot of stuff. And so I swept it all out, and then I had to sort through it. What is trash and what is toys? And boy, it was a little bit like, I'm a little ashamed of how much stuff was under my couch. But sure enough, I found the lost orange. It's just like the parable that Jesus is talking about when he talks about the lost sheep or the lost coin or the lost brother. It's easy to lose something and just go, it's not that big of a deal. We've got more. And, things in our lives, whether it's a closet or a junk drawer or under the couch or the trunk of your car, things get stuffed into it and then we forget about them. And while they're not truly lost, they're just misplaced. We couldn't find them if our lives depended on it. Some things are lost because they wander, like the parable of the lost sheep. And other things are lost because they're overlooked, or sometimes because we have so much of them, losing one doesn't really matter. In this part of the parable, Jesus shifts the image from the shepherd in the open field to a woman who is searching her home. And the setting changes, but the heart of God remains the same. What was lost can be found. The story reminds us that being lost doesn't always mean that I'm rebellious. Sometimes it just means that I've forgotten. Maybe I feel unseen, or maybe I feel dismissed. But the truth of the matter is that God sees us, and that God's mercy values even what other people might overlook. Now keep in mind, when Jesus is telling these parables, he's interacting with real people with real stories. And the Pharisees, the church people, they're not happy because Jesus is interacting with sinners. And they're most specific because he's not just interacting with them, he's eating with them. He's doing life together with them. And so he tells the story of the lost sheep, and then he switches gears and he says, or suppose, Luke chapter 15, verse 8, suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Doesn't she light a lamp, sweep the house, and search it carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she calls her friends and her neighbors together and says, rejoice with me, I have found my lost coin. In the same way, I tell you, there's rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. Jesus is telling this parable to show that his mercy values even what other people overlook. Now again, we don't really operate on the silver standard or the gold standard anymore. But, there was a time when a coin that was made of silver was worth its weight in silver. And so it wasn't just the value of the coin, the denomination of the coin, but that coin was made of pure silver, so that coin was worth whatever silver's value was on top of that. Like, we're talking about the days when money had real meaning, like it was actual treasure. And so God's using this treasure language to help us understand that he cares about us, that we are his treasures. Again, the human conundrum, the condition of our hearts are, well, if I have 10 and I lose 9, at least I still have 9. But you're thinking from the vantage point of like, I had 10 nickels. Am I really going to tear the house apart for a nickel? Well, I mean, I tore the house apart for one of those Clementine cutie mandarin oranges. I'm going to find it. Why? Well, because it's lost and it needs to be found. But again, in this story, he says a silver coin. So this is a valuable asset. So first of all, God sees you as valuable even when someone else, maybe somebody had 100 coins and they don't really care about the one. But God does, because you are his coin. You are his treasure. You are his valuable asset. And so God seeks out what others might dismiss. So it's just one coin. What's the big deal? Suppose the woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Verse 8. It's not like the coin can call out, I'm over here. The coin can't move itself to be closer to being found. And yet the woman still has the ability to go, wait a minute, I had 10, I only have 9. Sometimes I think that we're in such a, dramatic hurry to try to capture God's attention through the way that we express ourselves in worship, or the way that we demonstrate or talk on social media, or we like have these long religious prayers, and we think that God's going to be like, oh, there you are, and you're like, over here, over here. In the parable, the coin doesn't have to get the master's attention, because the woman, the master, is paying attention. God already sees you. You don't have to be flashy. You don't have to be notable. You don't have to be anything other than just you. And being you makes you God's treasure. Some of you need to hear this today. You might not feel like you're anything special because you're just one of many, but you're still treasured nonetheless. God's mercy doesn't depend on our ability to be noticed. God is already paying attention to you. And his search for you, his search to find you, wherever you've been neglected, forgotten, put on a shelf, tucked under the couch, God's willing to be thorough to bring you back home. Again, if the woman loses a coin, doesn't she light a lamp, verse 8 says, and sweep the house and search carefully until she finds it? The woman is willing in this moment to disrupt her entire home to recover what was lost. In the parable, God's communicating that his mercy isn't passive. It's deliberate and it's persistent. I suppose some of us can feel like a toy forgotten under the couch. How long has it been there? How forgotten is it? Just waiting. Makes me think of, again, having grandkids will do it to you, right? Makes me think of watching the Toy Story movies. I don't know them that well, but in one of the movies, like 3 or 4 or something like that, Andy's grown up and his toys are just sort of like in a box, just waiting. Like, how long are they in the box waiting to be played with? Andy comes home, he doesn't really care anymore because he's outgrown them. And I don't know what that looked like for you. I don't know, like maybe there was a time in your life spiritually where you felt like Like you had a lot to bring to the table, that you were a capital that everyone was wanting to spend, that you had value and people desired to be a part of your life, and maybe in relationships, or maybe at work, or maybe in the church, or maybe as you served on a serve team, and as you perhaps have aged, or perhaps life has shifted, or whatever that was, you got put in a pocket, put on a shelf, put in a jar, put in a box, and you don't feel like you have any value anymore, and that no one really cares anymore. And I'm telling you something, when I look at this parable, I realize that just because you fell through the cracks, just because you were put in a jar on a shelf, just because someone put you in a box and said, we're not really using that coin anymore, and just because you might not be feeling valuable, doesn't change the fact that God treasures you just the way that you are today. And so when mercy finds you, notice what happens to the woman. She rejoices. In the parable, God rejoices over what is found. And says that she calls all her friends together. And again, these stories that Jesus tells in parable format sometimes have a bit of hyperbole to them, right? Like, I can't imagine myself, like, if I had $100 and, or even $1,000, I had $1,000 and I lost a $100 bill, that I would be like, wow, let me call everybody I know and tell them I lost $100 and then I found it, because everybody would be like, okay, well, you're the one that lost it, dummy. Your loss. But that's also because we don't see it as treasure anymore, do we? It's just paper. You win some, you lose some. Yeah, it's a big deal because it's $100, but still, it just doesn't have the same weight as perhaps it used to. This was a big deal for this woman. 10 silver coins represented a lot of money, and so to lose even one of them was a game changer. And so for all we know, she had a debt to pay. For all we know, she was trying to buy a new home. For all we know, she was paying for her daughter's wedding. For all we know, whatever she had planned for those coins was very important. And the loss of just one of them derailed and changed her plans. And so for all we know, her excitement in finding the coin is saying, my plans have been restored. What was lost has now been found. Things are as they should be again. Rejoice with me, I've found my coin. I'm telling you something right now, that some of us that have felt tucked away, abandoned, neglected, put in a box, set on a shelf, God is reaching out to you right now, scooping you up and putting you back into circulation. This is his plan. This is his purpose for you. And heaven is celebrating the restoration that comes from you being found. Because a coin doesn't really have value if you can't find it. But God knows the value of the coin, so he pursues it until he finds it. I'm going to tell you something right now, though. The recovered value is not determined by its visibility. The value is the value. And some coins, not to take the metaphor too far, but some coins, when discovered from their hiding place, because they are unique and special and no longer made that way anymore, have extra value, more value than just their face value. Heaven celebrates restoration, joy that is reserved for the impressive, no, but for the recovered. This is an invitation, this parable, to step into the truth that God sees you and you have value even if no one else subscribes value to you. Maybe you felt invisible, maybe you felt overlooked, forgotten, boxed in, placed on a shelf. This parable is speaking directly to you today. You have not been misplaced in God's economy. You are treasured, you are valued, you are loved. God has a purpose and a plan, And he's wanting to find you back and bring you to a place where that coin, that treasure, that life that is represented by you can be placed back into circulation so that your value isn't just value sitting on a shelf under a couch in the cracks or the cushions of the car seat, but value that is practical and usable to leverage blessings upon the lives of those God's entrusted to you. Your treasure matters, your value matters, so much so that God's willing to find you. God, I'm grateful that you see value in us. Specifically, God, I'm grateful that you see value in me. There are times when I feel that I'm maybe not as relevant as I used to be or capable as I used to be, but yet still knowing that I am cherished and loved by you. Lord, you are in the business of not only finding us when we're lost, but restoring our dignity and giving us purpose, even when our joy and our identity and our perceived value is faded, Lord. You restore us, you make us whole, and you give us purpose. And I am grateful. In Jesus' name, amen.